Well, maybe we should bring in the animators here. I mean, talking about your role in this, because you were the ones who had the experience.
Yeah.
I guess technically we're not animators because we come from the art department side of things, but yeah, I mean, certainly whenever we got the footage through of the actors, the animators basically grabbed the footage and worked to it. There's a lot of Jim and Ryan in the characters, and all the other actors as well. So they don't look much like owls.
Grant was saying, yeah, not a lot like owls, and Grant was saying earlier, like how we were talking about it, that, you know, this isn't like a mocap performance, right? Like, you know, if we were talking about Happy Feet and how, you know, in Happy Feet, you know, it's actors with, like, you know, dots on their suits, and then when they dance around, then the animators are able to go, oh, you know, we can use that movement. So with this movie, because we didn't do that,
it's all keyframed, you know. It's about taking the essence of the performance and applying that to the owls rather than literally motion capturing, which is how a lot of animated, well, not animated films, but motion capture films are done these days.
And even some animated movies now, everyone's like, oh, you know, there's this cool thing where if we put dots on the actors, you know, and they go like this, then we get like, then we don't have to do any animation. It's awesome.
And then sometimes I then create a CG model that looks exactly like the actor, and then you're like, what was that? Why did they do that?
No, that was just a great way to spend some money.
But the film had a ton of research, like which is where Simon came in as a owl fanatic and
yep.
obsessive researcher to get all the anatomy and get the owls looking as amazing as possible.
Yeah, we went out and filmed 2-3 weeks of owls in sanctuaries, and combining that with the footage of these guys' faces, we wanted our owls to be really like the real thing, real birds, moving the way that you expect birds to move, catch the air, or the way you expect birds to catch the air. That was essential. We didn't want them to be animated cartoon characters with strange voices.
Yeah, and you did Simon did a thing called Owl School, which you know, he'd force us to essentially look at owls and really learn what they're all about. And so when we were modelling these characters, you know, we'd get to a stage, I'd be like, that looks like an owl, looks great, and then Simon would come in and pull it apart anatomically and say, no, this isn't right, and we'd have to rebuild the characters again. So it was like 6 months of us like in a room looking at, you know, owl feet rotating the screen. Yeah, you know, we'd get it perfect, and you're like, no, that's not right.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that the all of the bones and the joints moved the way they would, and they had limits, so they weren't kind of Tom and Jerry characters that could stretch and do ridiculous things. So if they were going to pick something up, they would pick it up like an owl would. They wouldn't then turn it over and go.
No pointing with their feathers.
That's it, yeah.
Zack, kudos to you for being able to pull this off in terms of the 3D, because I normally hate 3D, and I thought it really worked this time around. And I know you really kind of pushed your crew to really bring out all the vibrant colors and the images and so forth. And so was it an extra challenge to kind of get the 3D perfected? And what do you think that adds to the storytelling of the film?
Well, first of all, I'd say that, you know, the guys at Animal Logic have done, you know, Grant was saying, and we were saying that it's everyone's first 3D movie, but I think that everyone endeavoring from the beginning to say, you know, we've seen the other 3D movies and they're awesome-ish, and that you know, we were talking about how there's rules. You know, they say you can only make a 3D movie certain ways, and you can only make certain shots, and that I felt like what we did is we really made this 3D movie in a cinematic way. Like we try not to change the language of the movie for the 3D, but we try to get the 3D to enhance the language of the movie, right? It's like a weird, like, the 3D isn't used in a gimmicky way, but it does deepen the world, you know. And I really believe that, you know, especially in a fantasy film that like this is, which it really is a fantasy film. So I like that even on, like, you know, I don't know, I was looking on the internet and it's like listed under sci-fi, which is kind of cool. I thought that
the magnetism.
I guess so. I like that it was in the sci-fi category as well. But then it's a real fantasy film, so you really are going on an adventure to another world. Like literally, like there's, we were saying, we used all this, landscape of Australia to sort of create the world. But in a lot of ways, when you make an animated movie, you get nothing for free. You gotta endeavor then to include anything that you see is an effort and a choice, right? There's no like, oh, we got lucky with those clouds. So, but you want that feeling, right? Yeah, and so I think that the cool thing about the 3D in this case was that it makes the world more immersive. It makes it helps support the fantasy aspect of the film in the sense that you don't have to work to believe in the world as much, maybe because of if the 3D is working correctly. Probably.
And also I think because we have these birds in flight, and we could really use that whether they were flying towards you or away from you and create, I think it's a very deep movie in terms of 3D, more that there's times where it pokes forward, but a lot of times we've used it to be deep so we can see them flying through the frame, and I felt like it was very natural use of it.
I think 3D is like the perfect medium for a movie about flying creatures. Anything that's like flying a bird or a dragon, 3D is just a great medium. I think it's also worth noting that this is not a conversion, it's a proper 3D film, which we made from the start, intending to be 3D, 2 cameras, not 1 camera, and then trying to make it 3D, which is painful.
But I also have to say that the 2D version of the film is also worth seeing because, with 3D, because of the glasses, everything's slightly darker and a little bit muddier. And I feel like it's a different experience to watch the 2D, but it's also a really awesome experience because you get more of the detail of the feathers. And you just see a little bit more, and you see a little bit more depth in the colors. And it's different, but it's also pretty cool too.
Hi, Zach back here. I was wondering, do you have something against good old American actors? There don't seem to be any.
See, that's not cool.
I have to leave now.
What I will say is...
I'll get my coat.
Wow. What I will say is that I was blessed with an embarrassment of riches and talent in the cast that I have. Though in the past I have worked with American actors, and I find them incredibly awesome and very talented. In the case of this film, because I was kind of interested in this sort of fantasy world, if you will, I think the accents and the abilities of these actors sort of come together to create this perfect storm of support for the fantasy world that we've all endeavored to create. So. That is not by design, the lack of American actors. It just happened to work out that way. So,
my question is Jim. According to the IMDb, you really wanted to voice over for animation. So, what animation you watch grow up with, and what do you see the differences animation from you used to watch and this film?
Right, yeah, I mean, just like any sort of kid, I guess, you'd always want to just be the voice of a cartoon character, like it just seemed like a really cool thing to do. And there's been loads of animation, but I mean, I was in love with a film called Watership Down. I don't know if you guys know what that is, which was a huge, part of my life as a kid when I grew up. And and it's, as a kid, it is mainly cartoons and animation and things like that you watch, and as you get older, the animation's just been getting more and more exciting, and more possibilities going to come in with that. And I'd nearly had the chance to do a few animated characters, and so when this came up, it was just ticking every single box that I'd ever dreamed about, and the story was just epic in every way. And then they sent me this book of how the animation was going to kind of look, and the characters' backstories and different designs for the claws and the weaponry and the shields and the masks, and I was just completely kind of, taken in by this whole world that they'd already created, before I'd even got anywhere near, being involved. And it's just fun, just to kind of, hear your voice in this beautifully designed kind of character, and it's, it's your voice and it was such an exciting film to watch. I saw it for the first time last night.